Why, hello there. I'm Sin. We're in the Book Nook, and today we're going to talk about the best fantasy books I've read so far this year. Most of them are standalone with the exception of one. All right, and these are in no particular order either. I figure at the end of the year, we'll put together like a final list. So at the end of the year, we'll have a best horror list and then a best fantasy list. All right, first up is Green Teeth by Molly O'Neill. Green Teeth is like a fun, whimsical, dark fairy tale. I would call it a dark fairy tale. So it follows the story of this witch named Temperance, and you come to the story, and there's this preacher who has convinced everyone that she's the freaking devil, and they're going to all murder her and throw her in the water so that she dies. And this is someone that grew up in this town for a long time, and everyone had known her. At one point in time, she was well loved. She would help people with their ailments and all that stuff. But right now, the preacher guy has worked up an angry mob, and they're like, she's a witch. So they've chained her up and they throw her in the lake. In that lake lives a Jenny Greenteeth, which is a water fae. But she's a very curious looking water fae. She has really giant teeth, like rows upon rows of teeth. And they're not green. They're actually white. Her skin is green and she has like stringy green hair and looks like a strange swamp creature. And she does eat humans, but usually smaller ones. Because full-size adults, lots of indigestion, all stuff like that. So you got quirky humor. It's very cute. It's about found family. And she saves this witch and decides to help the witch, and they form this friendship, and then they end up going on like an epic quest because eventually they find out that the preacher man is like this horrible evil, and it's this Earl King who is just this unspeakable, like weird cosmic horror that's masquerading as this preacher guy. Great book. I absolutely loved it. It's dark fantasy, dark fairy tale style story with an epic quest and strange and whimsical characters, and it's also, I think, kind of cozy. So yeah, Green Teeth by Molly O'Neill, absolutely fantastic. So the next one is The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.G. Perry. I'm a big fan of stories that have to do with the Fae. I think the myth behind it is quite fascinating. So anytime there's books that kind of pull that into it, I'm interested. Let me give you the synopsis. All they needed to break the world was a door and someone to open it. Camford, 1920. Gilded and glittering, England's secret magical academy is no place for Clover, a commoner, with neither connections nor magical blood. She's there only to find a cure for her brother, Matthew, one of the few survivors of a deadly fairy attack on the battlefields of World War I. When Clover catches the eye of Golden Boy, Alden Lennox Fontaine, and his friends, doors that were previously closed to her are flung wide open, and soon she finds herself enmeshed in the seductive world of the country's magical aristocrats. But the summer she spends in Alden's orbit leaves a fateful mark. Months of joyous friendships and mutual study come crashing down when experiments go awry and old secrets unearthed. The consequences will only be truly understood many years later when it's too late. All right, so her brother comes home from the war and he was cursed by a fairy. This is how she finds out that magic is real. And the rich people have been trying to keep it from the common folk for a really long time. They're all snobby about it. She finds this out and she talks to the guy that had saved her brother. And she's like, how can I learn about this? How can I want to go to this school that you mentioned. He's like, well, they do have scholarships. You would have to do better than every other student that's already there that enters for it. And so he's like, I do know this witch, so I can have you study with her and kind of learn the rote. And then, that's all I can do for you. So she goes, she studies with this witch, she learns, she gets the scholarship. She goes there. And at first people are like, the scholarship witch. And they all kind of shun her. And the reason this dude comes and starts talking to her, because she spends all her time in the library and she's reading this specific author. It has to do, like, what she's been reading about has to do with the Fae, and so that's why this Alden guy approaches her. Because he couldn't have ulterior motives, could he? Because of course he does. And it was absolutely fantastic. I randomly picked up this book. This was such a lovely surprise. I really enjoyed it and would highly recommend it. All right, next up. A Harvest of Hearts by Andrea Ames. This follows the story of this character named Foss Butcher, and everyone in Foss's village knows what happens when the magic workers come. They harvest human hearts to use in their spells. That's just how life in her kingdom works. But Foss, plain, clumsy, and practical as an old boot, never expected anyone would want hers. When a sorcerer snags a piece of Foss's heart, without meaning to, She is pissed off. For once a heart is snagged, the experience is, well, unpleasant. So, Foss follows this sorcerer to the city, and she goes to the sorcerer's house and demands that he fixes her before she keels over and dies, or whatever happens when hearts are snagged. But the sorcerer, Sylvester, is not what she expected. Petulant, idle, and new to his powers, Sylvester has no clue how to undo the heart taking, or how to do much of anything. Apart from sulk, Foss's only friend is a talking cat, and even the house's walls themselves have moods. As Foss searches for a cure, she accidentally uncovers that there is much more to the heart taking and to the magic workers themselves than she could have ever imagined. Also, the talking cat. Talking cat's name is Cornelius. It is one of my favorite animal characters that I've encountered recently. I really liked that character. So yeah, she gets her heart taken and she follows this dude to his house and she storms in there and she comes into his room. She's like walked in, right? And he's like in this throne all slouched over. There's like crusty food plates all over the floor. It is gross. How's this guy? Ugh, how's he living like this? He's like, what do you want? And she's like, I'm here to be your housekeeper. Like, she doesn't even tell him. She's like, I'm just gonna, yep, okay. And he's like, okay, well, the cat will show you where you need to go. And so she follows the cat. And she's like, I wish you could talk. And the cat starts making these weird noises and hacking and coughing and all of a sudden starts speaking. He's like, oh. And she's like, what? Oh my God, you can talk. And he's like, well, the house, when you need something or kind of wish for something, it will present it. And he's like, well, you can't just like wish for a bunch of money or to have your heart back or something, but like the house is part of the sorcerer and the sorcerer is part of the house. So they have some weird kind of symbiotic thing, but the house will like give you stuff that you need. Like, so when she starts doing the housekeeping stuff, like the kitchen, when she needs like a certain thing, it will just provide it for her and stuff like that. So it's whimsical, it's weird, it's heartfelt, it's emotional, it's sad, it's so many things. It's cute, but it's also like the way the character viewed herself. She had such horrible self-esteem and, people are mean. And so, she didn't see any kind of like, why would anyone like her? This, that, and the other. And it's, so that part's very sad. But she, at the end, comes around and grows and learns to see herself and finds her inner strength. And I thought it was a really great story and I really liked it quite a bit. So after that one, the coziest, rosiest, nosiest book of this year, which is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This book is so cute. This is the one that's not a standalone. The second book comes out soon, and it's called The Enchanted Greenhouse, and I cannot wait. If you haven't read The Spell Shop and you love cozy fantasy, I swear you're going to love this one. It's something that, like, if you need to escape to a world where people are kind and uplifting, and it's just got that vibe that wraps you in a warm blanket with a cinnamon roll and a nice mug of tea. That's The Spell Shop. So let me tell you the synopsis of the story. Kayla has always had trouble dealing with people. Thankfully, as a librarian at the Great Library of Elysium, she and her assistant Kaz, a magically sentient spider plant, have spent the last decade sequestered among the Empire's most precious spellbooks, preserving the magic for the city's elite. When a revolution begins and the library goes up in flames, she and Kaz flee with all the spellbooks that they can carry and head to a remote island Kayla never thought she'd see again, her childhood home. Taking refuge there, she discovers, much to her dismay, a nosy and very handsome neighbor who can't take a hint and keeps showing up day after day to make sure that she's fed and to help her fix up her new home. In need of income, Kayla identifies something that even the bakery in town doesn't have: jam. With the help of an old recipe book her parents left her and a bit of illegal magic, her cottage garden is soon covered in ripe berries. But magic can do more than make life a little sweeter. So she risks the consequences of using unsanctioned spells and opens the island's first ever and much needed secret spell shop. Don't tell anybody. So it's super cute. There is romance in it. It's about people being kind to each other. There's one guy in it who's a super butthole. We hate him. But, the townsfolk are like, stuff it, you butthole. Stop being such a jerk face. That's not exactly what they say, but it's cute, it's cozy, and I absolutely loved it. After that one, we have The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. This is what's described as like a Narnia-esque story because these two boys, they disappear in the woods and they end up in another world. So let me tell you about it. As boys, best friends Jeremy Cox and Rafe Howell went missing in a vast West Virginia state forest. only to mysteriously reappear 6 months later, with no explanation for where they'd gone or how they survived. 15 years later, after their miraculous homecoming, Rafe is a reclusive artist who still bears scars inside and out, but has no memory of what happened during those months. Meanwhile, Jeremy has become a famed missing persons investigator with his uncanny abilities. He is the one person who can help vet tech Emily Wendell find her sister, who vanished in the very same forest as Rafe and Jeremy. Jeremy alone knows the fantastical truth about the disappearances, for while the rest of the world was searching for them, the two missing boys were in a magical realm filled with impossible beauty and terrible danger. He believes it is there that they will find Emily's sister. However, Jeremy has kept Rafe in the dark since their return for his own inscrutable reasons. But the time for bearing secrets comes to an end as the quest for Emily's sister begins. The former lost boys must confront their shared past, no matter how traumatic the memories. Alongside the headstrong Emily, Rafe and Jeremy must return to the enchanted world they called home for 6 months. For only then can they get back everything and everyone they've lost. And this book was a random book that I picked up off the bookshelf at the library, and I absolutely loved it. It's sad, it's sweet, it's emotional, it's heartbreaking, it's all of the stuff and the things that I want in my fantasy books. And also, I have standalone reviews for all of these. I will put the links down below if you want more in depth on any of these books to, dig a little deeper. And if you're ever also wondering what else goes on in my mind behind the scenes and other stuff I'm getting into, did you know that I have a Patreon? There's a book club, there's a Discord, there's extra video content that's not here on YouTube. So if you are interested, I will also have a link down below to my Patreon. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.